Hello, this is Scotty O with Ecstatic Hearts Tantra. Today we are going to be talking about consent. This is a really important topic, especially in light of the Me Too movement. I think it's great for us to improve our communication and understanding and responsibility around consent. So, first of all, what is consent? Consent is when before anyone, as an example for me, if before I enter someone's space, or before I touch someone, or even energetically join someone, my goal is to ask for consent, and that way I know that the person that I want to hug or touch or whatever is also wants to be hugged or touched. You know, it's something that it's easy to get confused on sometimes because in my world, I'm a loving, touchy guy, and my friends are too. And so when we go and hug each other, we just naturally want to connect and hug. And the thing to remember, though, even if you live in a world like that, not everyone necessarily wants that at that point in time. Some people, might not be in a physical space. Some people might have something else going on in their minds. But it's important for us to always ask for consent before touching or interacting directly with other people. Part of this is a learning process. And one of the things I want, and I've seen is happening out there, is almost like a overreaction of like, you didn't, give me consent before you talked to me, or, you didn't give me consent before, blah, blah, blah. And one of the things that I want to just point out is it's equally responsible for the giver as well as the receiver to state consent boundaries. For example, if I am going into, let's say, a massage circle where, let's say, 4 people or 3 people massaging one person, and you rotate, which is a fun thing to do. I recommend it. But one of the things that's important for consent is, like, before I am laying down to be touched, I express, these are my boundaries. This is how I want to be touched. This is how hard. This is where. This is, you can do this and you can do that. It can be different for different people. And I'm really clear about what I'm okay with and what I'm not okay with. And then I also ask my desires. That's the other thing that people forget about, is the boundaries is one half of it, but your desires and what you want is a very exciting other half of it as well. So then I express, I really want, deep pressure in my shoulders to be relaxed, or, but I want you to run your fingers through my hair and whisper nice compliments to me while you do it. Something like that. So it's, that's one side. And then on the flip side, if let's say, and if you're going through that process in that circle, everyone knows what everyone's consent and boundaries are. But if it's something like I'm just seeing a group of friends or someone I haven't seen in a long time, what we do is I go, hey, would you like a hug? And this nonverbal, like opening up our arms, we've trained specifically that with our friends. They know to open up their arms if they want to hug. If they don't, they'll just put up their hands and say hello, or they'll give me a high five, or whatever works for them at that moment. And everything is okay. So the first step of the whole process is you get to figure out what your personal boundaries are. That's probably the most important part, which a lot of people don't spend a lot of time thinking about. What is okay? What's not okay? And make sure to communicate that with others, because, otherwise they don't know. And then likewise, before I hug or touch someone, I ask them, hey, is it okay if you'd like a hug? Is it okay for me to, connect with you? Or can I talk to you right now? Some people might be in a deep conversation, and I try to increase my sensitivity. Is like, sometimes if it looked like they're really in it, they may not want me coming in and joining that private talk. So I said, hey, may I join you? Or should I talk to you now or later? It's just good to check in. So that's kind of what the overall thing. And what we want to do is share with you some of our specific suggestions that we think work really well. Since we are in the practice of improving people's intimacy and connection and love, we want to make sure that people are operating with consent, because this is the key, guys. Consent is sexy. Some people say, well, I don't want to use words, and I just want to go with the flow and whatnot. And sometimes, especially if it's someone like if I'm with my wife, I kind of know, I have an idea of what she wants and doesn't want, and I don't have to use words all the time in what I'm about to say, but I still use words all the time. I still have to ask what she's ready for, because we're like, if I'm getting excited or turned on with my wife, she may have different levels that she's ready for and not ready for. And so I get to ask and say, are you ready for this? Or would you like me to touch you here? And that can be a very sensual, erotic process. So it doesn't have to be clinical or get you into your head too much. You can be erotic with it. But so just know that, but asking for consent is sexy. I have much more respect and appreciation, I think most people do, for people that ask me if I'm okay, because we all want to feel empowered. So here's some things that you can do. One is be verbal. In general, use your words. A lot of people are thinking, well, I'll just, non-verbally go into it. And again, sometimes that could work, especially people when you have a pre-existing relationship or agreements with. However, if it's someone new or someone you don't know very well, or, it's just safer to use your words. And so, hi, Josh, and Joshua, and use your words, and it's much more effective. So be verbals and be specific. That's the other thing too. If we're in a massage circle and someone's like saying, hey, can I join? What does that mean? Does that mean, hey, watch? Does it mean, may I jump into the massage? Does it mean, may I boot the person out of the way that's currently giving massage and take over? It's like, the more specific you are, the less room there is for misinterpretation, right? So be verbal, be specific. Also, I like to ask, and I suggest asking every step along the way, because if you're escalating, for instance, if I'm saying, Melanie, may I touch your feet? And she says yes. Before I say touch her thigh, that's a different activity, and some people have different charges or different levels of, of a comfortable level with that. So I'd say, hey, are you ready for me to touch your thigh? And she'd say, no, just stay on my feet. Or she'll say yes. So it's good to ask for every step along the way if you think it might be more escalating. The fourth thing is it's okay. In fact, it's highly suggested. It's okay to communicate changing your mind. A lot of people are thinking, well, once I say yes, I'm stuck in this pattern. No, you're not. If someone's giving me a massage and it's like, maybe I've had enough, or maybe it's like, it's just not what I want in that moment, I can say, thank you so much. I'm full now, or I'm ready for something else. Or would you like something else? You can shift it a lot of different ways, but it's also perfectly okay to say no. No, thank you. In fact, in our classes, we actually practice the act of saying no, because some people think that, well, if I say no, that's impolite, or if I say no, I'm going to hurt someone's feelings. No creates freedom. It creates safety. If someone says no, I can trust their yes. If someone says, no, thank you, then I go somewhere else where I can get a yes. If people are something like saying maybe, or come back later, or, if it's not, that's the sixth step. If it's not a hell yes, if it's not an enthusiastic, oh yes, I totally want that, I check in and I say, is that really a yes? Is that an enthusiastic yes? Because if it's not a hell yes, I'll go elsewhere where I do have hell yeses. And there's always another place to go where you can get all of your needs met. So, that's the other thing, is make sure that there's an enthusiastic yes, and they're not just saying okay because they're trying to be polite. And if you are one of those people that is not comfortable with giving a strong no, practice it. It's a really good skill to have, and you're not doing anything but freeing them up to go get what they want elsewhere. And it's I don't think it's ever impolite to own your no. All right. So what else we got? We got. I think that's it. So just to recap, when you're doing, two more things that are more subtle, is if you're entering someone's space, let's say there's a group of people talking, or but before you jump in and just start into the conversation too, it depends. If it's just a party and people are mingling, that's one thing. But if two people you can see are intimately in a conversation, or they're doing something that, let's say, is just more intimate than norm, I think good etiquette is just say, hey, may I join you? And be specific. Say, may I join the discussion? Or, if it's a massage circle, may I, touch your left pinky toe too? Or something. So it's always good to ask before entering the group, or may I watch? May I just watch you guys doing massage? So even watching, it can be important, because some people, if I am having an intimate discussion with my wife about something and someone's just coming over and staring at us, it's a little off-putting, so it's good just to even ask, even if you're going to come into someone's space and watch. Hey, Johnny. And so that's another thing. And let's see. So Also, if there's a group of people, proper etiquette is to ask everyone in the circle, because like Melanie may be great with a person jumping in and joining a conversation or massage circle, but maybe I'm not comfortable with that at that moment for whatever reason. So it's just better to ask everyone in the group, and because you want unanimous yeses to your presence. If not, then go where where you do have unanimous yeses. So just to recap, one is to be specific, be verbal, make sure you're getting an emphatic yes. It's okay and to change your mind at any time. Ask the whole group, and even ask if you're going to watch, or even put your energy, like energetically. You can also be, like some of us are really good at sending energy or feeling energy. It's good to ask if you're planning on moving your energy through someone or into someone. And on the flip side, if you're really receptive to energy, most people don't know how to control their energy. And so it's a good idea to learn how to be in such a way that other people's energies don't bother you. And we can help you with that. Okay, so that's one side. The flip side I want to talk about a little bit is if you're on the receiving end. Because one of the things that I've seen that's been happening is people are maybe feeling that their boundaries have been violated, or they're seeing something that they interpret as a violation when it may not be the case. Or the person, if you have an issue, first of all, definitely by all means, whatever you feel your boundaries are being violated, communicate it. Don't hide it. I love that about the Me Too movement. It's bringing awareness to things that have been hidden for a long time. So by all means, own your power, communicate it. The thing is, I think is most powerful is communicate it directly to the source. So this is important. Well, the problem is if we go into rumor mongering mode, if we start telling a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend, there's a couple of problems. One is, if you know the telephone game, every time it shifts to a different friend, it changes just a little bit, and then it can get blown out of proportion. Also, most of us are dealing in fantasy land. I mean, this is a whole other study we go into, but most of us are dealing out of our past and our interpretations and our history, our filters, our programming that we have even since we were little kids, our belief systems. And the problem is that most of the time we're wrong with our interpretations. I know that may be difficult to hear. You might not believe it, but most of us are actually incorrect in identifying what we think is real. And so you got to be really careful and check your assumptions before you start sending them out to other people. Now, if you can't address, or you don't think it's safe to address your violation directly with that person, then go to someone that can do something about it, like the police, or someone that can really support you in that. What doesn't work so well is telling a friend who tells a friend who tells a friend, because then that whole rumor mill starts. And I've seen, right now, I know more of my friends that are suffering as a result of misconstrued allegations and slander than I have friends that are actually suffering from consent violations. And so be careful. We're all in this together. We're all learning. We're all growing. So one of the things that's useful is like telling a person, hey, I appreciate you wanting to hug me, but I didn't want to be hugged right now, and you just violated my consent. That's really important for that person to hear, because most of us, the vast majority of us, just want to connect. We just want to be loved. We want to love. We're only trying to do what we think the other person wants. So it's great, to hear, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that wasn't what you wanted. It's only through us, the receivers, consistently communicating where our boundaries are, what our desires are, what our boundaries are, that we will help train the rest of humanity into what works and doesn't work. And on the flip side, you can't always count on someone stating clearly their boundaries and requests, because some people might not be in the mental space for that. Some people might not be ready for that. So it's really important for the person who's about to touch someone to always ask too. And sometimes, we make mistakes. We're humans. None of us are perfect. I myself have been learning how to be more and more sensitive over the years. And most of us are all still learning. This is not taught in schools. We're not, taught how to communicate at all, let alone how to express boundaries and requests and so forth. So, have a little bit of compassion for people that are still learning how to enter this space or how to interact with each other. Is just a suggestion. So, the other part of that is, be ultra responsible, both as the giver and the receiver. you know? And then if you have an issue, go directly to the person that you have an issue with. If you are trying to help someone who you feel has been violated, first of all, encourage that person to go directly to the source. 98% of all consent violations can be handled just by communication, just by the person who feels violated talking to the person who violated them. And it can be resolved, and they'll both be healed, and they'll both move forward. You know, what happens if that doesn't happen is that it can create more problems. You can actually, one of the things, for example, is that some people say, oh, well, that person is a violator or a predator. And then that rumor mill goes on, and then people are like ostracizing and pushing that people out of the community. And that all that does is perpetuates the same. That creates isolationism, that pushes people out. And they may be innocent too. That's the problem, is that it's like when you get into the rumor mill, if you're thinking one thing just because someone else said it, it can like go in a windmill and take off on its own. So just be responsible with your communication. Go direct to the source. If you have a friend who you feel is violated and they are not ready to go to that person and support it, then see if you can get the facts, first of all, and then you can support them by going to someone that can make a difference. Maybe you can go direct to that person on behalf of them, but again, that gets kind of tricky, because if you aren't the person that actually happened to, then it can create all sorts of miscommunication. So the bottom line is, most of us know what it's like to have our consent violated. Most of us have been violated one way or another. And most of us, subconsciously or consciously, have violated other people's consent too. It might not be a huge thing. It might just be, entering a conversation when you weren't wanted, but it could be more. The point is that all of us are trying to learn, all of us are trying to grow. And I'm not talking about the 1% and 1% who need to be locked away and are untrainable. I'm talking about the vast majority of us that are, loving, good-hearted people that just want to grow and learn and get better at this. And so my encouragement is for you to always ask for consent and always express your boundaries and requests whenever you feel it's appropriate, and share with people when you feel violated, so that they are empowered to change and improve. The key is the coming from love. The key is all of us want to make the world a better place, and it's going to take all of us to participate. So Kat, Window, James, thank you for joining. I think that's it. So just come from love. Love is the answer, and acceptance is the key. Namaste.